Hi there! Welcome to History in Retrograde. This is the podcast where we use the ancient art of astrology to help us better understand the past. I'm your co-host, Chandler O'Quinn, and joining me live via satellite is my mom. Hi, Mom!
Hi, Chandler!
Are you ready to begin another grand experiment?
Yes, I am. I'm ready.
All right, let's do this.
Okay, well, first I just want to say thank you so much to all the listeners out there. We love you all. We're very happy that you're there and listening to us and downloading the podcast. We're going to make more podcasts for you. We just want to know we love you.
Yeah, we are very excited to see how big we're growing and that we're listened to all over the country and in different countries around the world even. It's really remarkable and glad that you're enjoying it, and we hope to have another great one teed up for you right now.
We're very appreciative of all of you. Thank you.
So, for any of you who may just be joining us, the way that the podcast works is that in a moment, I will give my mother the astrological birth data on a random historical figure. Now, you, the audience, already know who this historical figure is. It's in the title of today's episode. I, of course, already know because I selected this figure. But Mom has no idea who this mystery history guest might be. So I will give her only the data necessary to create an astrological birth chart. So that is the birth date, time, and location. Then she will input that into the BAT computer, and out will come the astrological birth chart, where all the stars and planets were at the moment that person was born. She will then give us a blind reading, giving us all the information that she can from the chart based on, and giving us the personality traits and the character motivations and the fortunes of this random historical figure. I will ask her a few discussion questions along the way, and then I will reveal to her who our mystery history guest is. I'll give a little background about that person, and then we'll discuss how accurate the chart was at predicting what that person did. So, without further ado, let's begin. This is going to be a male.
All right.
Born on the 17th of January, 1942.
All right.
The time is 6:35 p.m.
All right. What country?
The United States.
All right. And town?
Louisville, Kentucky.
All right. Okay. Here we go. All right. Okay. All right. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Okay. Let me just look at this for a second.
Now, from my untrained eye, I would think that this would be another very dynamic chart.
Yes, this is a very dynamic chart. The interesting part of this chart is that it is very well dispersed. All the planets are fairly well dispersed. There is a concentration. See, this person has triple Aquarius, double Taurus. Okay, so I'm just looking at the different aspects of it. I was just studying it really well. And finding it very interesting that this person has North Node in Virgo in the second house. conjunct, is it conjunct? Yes, conjunct Neptune in the second house. So, I always like to go to the North Node first. Sometimes something else will catch my eye, but in this particular situation, or most of the time, I like to go to the North Node. North Node in Virgo would be a person who should be fairly organized, a good communicator, a person who is very precise in what they do as far as their direction, right? Because North Node is the direction. That's the direction you're supposed to be. And second house is ruled by Taurus, which is Venus rules Taurus. So that is pleasurable things, money, luxuries, things like this. And then having Neptune conjunct in Virgo would mean a very creative way of acquiring these things. Possibly being, a writer or some person who could be creative in that aspect, creative ways of earning a living. So there's that. This person also has their ascendant is Leo, which would should make them very gregarious. They should come, when they walk into a room, they're there. This person would be able to basically hold court in any room in the world. They have a natural ability of, and they should be very likable, but also be very strong, leadership qualities, and have kind of a lion way about them, like maybe even great hair, or interesting hair. There's always people with Leo rising either have great hair or it's very interesting. If I go to this 12th house, which is karma, which is ruled by Pisces, which is then ruled by Neptune. This person has Pluto in Leo in this house. So this person having Pluto in Leo in the 12th house should make them have distinct, powerful leadership qualities. But, dun, 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 they also have Chiron in this house. And that would put that in Leo also. So there are lessons, wounded healer. Chiron is the wounded healer. So from that, it's very karmic. This person also has karma with being a leader. So in the past, perhaps, this person had, in past lives, this person could have had a very bad situation with being a leader, had to come back to relearn that lesson. Maybe they were a bad leader. Maybe they were an egotistical leader. But they had to learn the lesson, overcome what they needed to overcome, so that then they could help others. That's the way it's supposed to work.
So, now with the Pluto also means death and rebirth, right?
Yes, which could be that this person was dethroned and put back, and dethroned and put back. It can be either one. Either way, Pluto is very powerful, but it also is that burning down of the phoenix and returning. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, great. So this person doesn't have any planets in their third house. It's ruled by Leo. It's ruled by Libra. And then fourth house is Scorpio. Fifth house is Sagittarius. Sixth house is Capricorn. Now, this person has Sun in Capricorn, but has Moon, Mercury, and Venus in Aquarius in the sixth house. The situation with this person would be that they could come across very fatherly or have a certain level of responsibility, respect with that Sun in Capricorn, since it is a male. But this Moon, Mercury, and Venus in Aquarius makes them, or should make them, best case scenario, very humanitarian. Mm-hmm. Okay? Very humanitarian, very interested in humanitarian ways, groups, and caring about the people. All right? So they should be like that. The opposite side of that is complete totalitarianism. So, we've said this before. We have had several people that you've brought that have Aquarian planets, which have either been on one side of that or the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know until I find out who it was, which direction they went. Now, this is Moon and Mercury in the 6th house would be, and then Venus falls in the 7th house. So in Aquarius, though. But this Moon and Mercury in the 6th house should make them, I would want to say their work has to do with humanitarianism, speaking about humanitarianism, philosophizing about humanitarianism, communicating about human events, human things that affect humans, or being a rabid dictator.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one or the other. But also their mother, with Moon in Aquarius, their mother would have had those Aquarian traits, would have had some humanitarian aspects. People who have Moon in Aquarius they're Aquarian planets, people with Aquarian planets are otherworldly. Not in the way that people with Pisces planets are. People with Pisces planets are more otherworldly, dream-worldly. People with Aquarian planets feel they don't belong here. They feel that this is a very, it can be too human for them. The emotions and the rabidness of humanity just is not, they're above that. Mm-hmm. They don't feel things that way. Things become logical for them. So people with Moon in Aquarius will be more logical about their emotions. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Okay. But having Venus in Aquarius, this person in the 7th house, this person would also have wanted a partner who wanted to join them in this humanitarian journey, because they want, if it's a heterosexual man, he would have wanted a woman who had Aquarian values, Aquarian behavior, a person who cared and also wanted to join them in this journey. As like this should have been a very strong, logical, caring partner for them. These are air signs, so they are not going to be deeply passionate or deeply emotional like the water signs and the fire signs would be. Okay, so they're a little bit different. Now, this person also has Mars in Taurus in the 9th house. Mars in Taurus would make them very, very stubborn.
Uh-huh.
Extremely stubborn, especially where their philosophies are.
Uh-huh.
Don't even bother trying to argue with this person about philosophy. You will not win. Because it doesn't even matter if they are right. They're just not going to give in.
Uh-huh.
So, and this is a very huge part of this man.
Uh-huh.
Because Mars is male, and this rules this is what drives him. Okay, he's driven by this. It should be very driven by their philosophies, but also it could mean travel. It could mean travel to collect beautiful, opulent things. Those are all aspects of that. 10th house, big 10th house. 10th house. 10th house being ruled by Taurus. Oh my Lord, have mercy. Saturn and Uranus and Jupiter. But Jupiter is in Gemini. But this Saturn and Uranus in the 10th house, this person, this lifetime for them, their lesson, like Saturn is lessons, Capricorn. Saturn rules Capricorn, so it's lessons and the things that you need to learn in this life. And this person had the things they had to learn dealt with their career. This situation is work. So they should have been a very hard worker, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Very adamant about their work. The work must be done. But in this situation, you have to learn how to do the career, right? And in this career, this also, like you have Pluto and Chiron here in the 12th house. Here you have that same element with death and rebirth and unexpected things happening in the career. And with it being Saturn and Uranus, like literally conjunct within 5 degrees of each other in this 10th house of career, there should have been a lot of surprising turns of events
Yeah.
in the career. Like, oh, we're doing this now? Well, okay. And then hopefully this person with the Saturn there would have learned to adapt and take that turn. But also having Jupiter in the 10th house, this Jupiter in Gemini, is very interesting because it gives a little bit of lightness to that, but it also gives luck. And luck in communicative things. You're lucky. Somehow you have the right words. Somehow you are able to communicate this in a way that is very fortunate for you. You have this fortunate, how can I put this? They have like a magic ability to make this work in their and it has to do with communication and anything through the airwaves or through any kind of mercurial outlet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So overall, I would say that this was a very powerful, stubborn person.
Uh-huh.
Personally, if this chart is on the good side, I would feel very honored to be with this person. I would feel like, yes, this person has got this down.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would feel, I would enjoy this person's company, and I feel that I would respect them. If it's all on the light side, I feel this person's been through something to earn their place, and then should have also reached back down the ladder and help people up.
Yeah.
You know, this person is not without conflict, but this person does have, I mean, the conflicts are there to grow. You know, if there was no conflict, then, you know, how, what's the point? You know, we don't come here to just surf, you know, the storms come and go and the tragedy comes and goes. And so, you know, I feel this is a very, very strong man.
Yeah.
I want to say this is a very manly man.
Uh-huh.
I mean, that Taurus. Yeah. This is so do you have any questions?
Yeah. How would you describe this person's self-esteem?
I think this person's very happy with themselves.
Uh-huh.
I don't feel that this person has an issue with self-esteem.
Okay. And how would you what kind of career would you think this person might go into?
I would think it isn't a situation where this person, any career this person he's going to be like a bull. Okay. So, I mean, anywhere where he would need strength. It could be military. It could be politics. I mean, because we have, but also, because of all of this Aquarian, I think that this person would have a deep, it's not, when it's Aquarius, it isn't like a passion, like an emotional passion. It is a logical passion. It's like, this is what needs to be done. The world needs to do this. We're going to get it done.
Yeah, right.
And with this North Node, with this Mars in Taurus, don't get in this person's way. You need to get out of the way because this person's coming through like a tank. this
Oh,
person is coming, like a
yeah.
tank.
Yeah.
So I would say any of those things, but definitely connected to worldly humanitarian efforts, like logically understanding this needs to be the way it is, and then like getting in a tank and just going towards it.
Okay. How would this person respond to attention?
Well, they have Leo rising, so any kind of attention would be greatly appreciated because they feel they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a person who feels that you do need to tell me I'm wonderful
Mm-hmm.
because I am.
Mm-hmm.
I am wonderful. I don't think that this person would have a huge amount, unless this moon in Aquarius could make them more humble. Having a moon in Aquarius could make them more humble, but that Leo rising, it's hard with Leo rising because anybody who has a fire sign rising feels they are kingly and queenly.
Uh-huh.
So if you have a fire sign rising, those people love adoration.
Uh-huh.
They dig it. And they feel it is correct. It's not like, oh no. They're like, yes. Yes, it is. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Very much so. Can you get any sense here of what role religion might play in their life?
Well, they do have Mars in the 9th house in Taurus. So it is possible that they could be very, very adamant about their religion. 9th house is philosophies. And it is, but also, you could go and look. I mean, this person could have been, all I can say is whatever their opinions are about their spirituality, they are distinct. Like they either are really into it or they're really not. So it's going to be, one or the other. But whatever it is like, this is the line. It's not gray.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
How would this person deal with injustice?
Oh, I don't think this person would have been. This person, I think, is you don't do it.
Uh-huh.
Don't do it. Don't go again. Because this this is not a person you want to mess with.
Uh-huh.
You don't want to antagonize this person. This person could basically eat you alive if they want to.
Uh-huh.
So this is not a person that you want to, go up against with, rigmarole, any kind. This person doesn't even have patience for, questions maybe.
Uh-huh.
Like, are you questioning me right now? You need to go.
Right.
Go away. There are no questions for me. I've said what I've said.
Uh-huh.
Now we're done.
Right.
Okay.
This is one of the great readings so far. Any other things to glean out of the chart here? Anything you haven't talked about before that strikes you?
I can only hope that I really would like this person and they weren't like a super, super duper male chauvinist, but I'm hoping that this moon and Mercury in Aquarius would lighten that a little bit. Because man, that Mars in Taurus in the 9th house, that scares me a little bit. This person is fierce.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, fierce. That's definitely a word for him. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and give us our summary of the findings from the chart. Organized, precise communicator. Money, luxuries, creative in acquiring luxuries. Gregarious. He can hold court. When he walks into a room. Strong. Many aspects like a lion. Karma with being a leader. Dethroned and put back. Very humanitarian. Philosophize, communicate, care about humanity. extremely stubborn, especially about philosophy. Travel plays a role in his life. Hard work, adamant about work. Unexpected turn of events with career. Luck with communication. A magic ability with communication. A manly man. Very happy with himself. Deserves attention. Very adamant about religion. And fierce. All that sound correct?
That's what I see.
So, in order to reveal who this person is, I really have to go into my box of tricks and pull out an impression. This is not of the person, but of someone who is very important to this person. And if you find this impression annoying, I do apologize, but if I had my druthers, I would have done the whole episode in this impression and maybe most of my life. It is one of my favorites. So, here we go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to ABC's Wide World of Sports. I'm Howard Cosell, Chandler's mom. You are looking at the astrological birth chart of the man who gave us the rumble in the jungle, the thriller in Manila. This is the astrological birth chart of the boxer, formerly known as Cassius Clay, now forever known as Muhammad Ali.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. Well, this makes absolute perfect sense. Yeah, that's Muhammad Ali. That's great.
Cassius Marcellus Clay Jr. was born January 17th, 1942 in Louisville, Kentucky. His father, Cassius Sr., was a sign painter. He was a very proud man, but was also an abusive alcoholic. His mother, Odessa, was a Baptist homemaker who was very kind. Cassius Clay Jr. was sort of the melding of both of these two people. He grew up in the segregated Jim Crow South, Louisville, Kentucky. One of the stories that very much impacted him was while he and his mother were out shopping, he went to a drugstore and he was thirsty, and he went to the counter and asked for a glass of water, and the drugstore was segregated. He was denied a glass of water because he was an African-American man trying to go to just the counter of this white drugstore. At the age of 12, Clay had his new red Schwinn bike. This was one of his, the pride and joy. His ticket to freedom was this red Schwinn bike. He parked it outside on the street, and he went into a symposium of African-American business owners, looked to see all the different products that they were selling. He came out of the symposium and saw that his new Schwinn bike was stolen. He went straight to a gymnasium because he knew that there was a police officer named Joe Martin who ran a gymnasium, and he went to the officer trying to get him to try and find the bike, and if the officer wouldn't find the bike, he was going to find it himself, and he was going to whoop up the guy who did it, who stole the bike. Joe Martin said that it would be pretty important for him to learn how to fight first. And so from the age of 12, Clay started his journey into becoming a trained boxer. He amateur boxed from 1954 to 1960. He won a gold medal at the in the light heavyweight category at the 1960 Rome Olympics. He came back to the United States, a gold medal winner, someone who had represented his country and gotten the highest award that you could. and he was still treated as a second-class citizen, someone who could not be served at drugstore counters, just the same as when he was a young boy. This very much enraged him, that a country that was supposed to be born of freedom and equality would not treat him with respect. Clay, by the time of 1960, he had his sights set on the World Heavyweight Championship. He had a hard time getting publicity, so he perfected the art of trash talking. He talked about how fast, how strong, and how pretty he was to anyone who would listen, and he started getting people to come in to see his fights. Most of them came to these fights to see this young upstart this braggart get absolutely clobbered, but stayed when they saw how good he was, to witness the magnificent maestro at work. In 1963, Clay felt that he was ready to take on the world heavyweight champion. That was Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston was a mafia enforcer. He was what everyone believed was a huge man. Clay called him the Big Ugly Bear. At one point, he got his bus to drive up onto the yard of Sonny Liston, clamoring, "I want the bear! I want the bear!" He would come to press conferences with a bear trap, saying, "I'm ready to take on the bear." He said, I'm going to take on this ugly bear, and then I'm going to donate him to the zoo. Liston, by the time that they actually agreed to fight, Liston was scared of Clay because he thought that Cassius Clay was actually insane. And when they got into the ring, everyone figured out that, everyone thought that Cassius Clay was this young, skinny kid. But when the robes came off, Cassius Clay was actually bigger than Sonny Liston. Liston would actually stuff his robes with towels to make him look bigger. And so then when the robe came off, Clay was bigger, Clay was faster. They went 6 rounds, and at the end of round 7, Sonny Liston refused to get back into the ring. Clay won by technical knockout. At the age of 21, Cassius Clay became the heavyweight champion of the world. He went to the ring, he went to the microphone, he said, "I am the greatest. I shook up the world. I am the prettiest thing that ever lived." Shortly thereafter, Cassius Clay changed his name to Muhammad Ali. He declared that he was a follower of Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. So while he was coming up, he was exposed to this idea of the Nation of Islam, and this was really a radical thought in the early days of this civil rights movement of the 1960s. He started learning with Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad about what Islam was, and that at this time, especially with these people, that they believed that Christianity was it was introduced to the African American community through slavery. It was taught to the African American community as a way of keeping them in their place, and these people in the Nation of Islam believed that Islam is a religion that's practiced in Africa. It is an African religion as much as anything else, and that it was a way of developing agency for themselves. That many ways, Christianity and the whole rest of society in the United States in the 1950s and 60s was about keeping African Americans down and in their place, and that really prohibited masculinity, prohibited black men from being manly because they were supposed to be subservient. And so through Elijah Muhammad, Ali discovered that there's a whole nother thought process, a whole nother philosophy about living life, and that black men should not be kept down like this, and that this is the way that they are going to get out of the troubles that their people were kept in. So he changed his name to Muhammad Ali, and this was very radical. And this is the early 60s still, 1963. That he's doing this, and many people thought that he was radicalized, that now the heavyweight champion of the world, one of the most recognizable people in the United States, was actively campaigning against the United States. They were very afraid of what the Nation of Islam was. And this continued on through the most of his career. In 1965, Muhammad Ali defeats Sonny Liston again.
What's wrong with this Sonny Liston guy? Why does he keep coming back for more?
So there are all sorts of reasons of what was going on here. The fight lasted less than 2 minutes.
That's great.
Sonny Liston was knocked out in what people call the phantom punch. It was a punch that was barely even caught on the cameras. A lot of people thought that Sonny Liston actually took a dive. Sonny Liston had connections with the mafia, and they thought that the mafia put this whole thing together, and they bet on Muhammad Ali and told Liston to go down early, and then that would, then they would all win these bets. Liston later said that he went down so early because he was afraid of the Nation of Islam, that if he did actually win against Ali, the Nation of Islam would come out and could assassinate him, which the Nation of Islam did do to people who they disagreed with, such as Malcolm X. So there are all sorts of stories of what happened during the second title fight. Muhammad Ali was very upset that Liston went down so early, because he said that day, nobody's going to believe this. Nobody's going to believe that I took you down again if you go down this early. But that's what happened in 1965. In February of 1966, the United States Draft Board reclassified Ali as 1A. The draft board was needing men to go out and fight in Vietnam. When he heard that his classification had been changed to 1A, which is the most eligible to be in the draft, he famously said that he was not going to go fight in that war, that no Viet Cong ever called him the N-word. In April 28th of 1967, Ali refused induction into the U.S. Army on account of being a conscientious objector on religious grounds. He said that according to the Nation of Islam, according to the Prophet Muhammad, the Vietnam War was an unholy war, that he had no qualms with the Viet Cong, that this was another way of the white man bringing oppression to a foreign land, that he was going to have no part in this war. His license to fight was rejected in all 50 states, and his passport was revoked. So now the heavyweight champion of the world can no longer fight in the United States and can no longer legally go to any other country to fight. He was no longer able to practice his profession. And the impact that this had across the United States. Many people were on both sides of this. Some were saying that it was wrong, that this man who was given everything, or was the heavyweight champion of the world, that this country had given him fame and fortune, and now he was not going to go up and fight for the United States. That was wrong. Some people in lower and middle class were saying, our boys have to go over and fight in this war. Why do you think that you're so good that you don't have to go and fight in this war? Others were saying that he's a champion, that he was standing up for what he believed in. He sacrificed everything. He sacrificed his wealth and fortune and fame for something that he truly believed in, that the Vietnam War was a wrong, unjust war. This continued from 1967 throughout 1970. He went all over the country, to all these different colleges, spoke to all sorts of different sports announcers, especially Howard Cosell, about what the war was doing and about how wrong it was and how wrong it was for him not to be able to fight. These were the prime years of his life, from 27 to 30. He essentially wasn't able to practice his craft, wasn't able to fight. In 1970, the city of Atlanta granted Ali a license to fight, so he was finally able to come back. And that same year, the Supreme Court decided in Muhammad Ali's favor, saying that he did not have to go to Vietnam, that he was a conscientious objector. And by this point in 1970, 71, the tide had really turned for the American public, and they were really fatigued by the Vietnam War and did not feel that it was a just war anymore, and really started to rally towards Ali. In 1971, Ali lost to the heavyweight champion Joe Frazier in the first professional. This was his first professional defeat. The 1970s would really be categorized by his bouts with Joe Frazier. In 1974, there was the famous Rumble in the Jungle. This happened in Zaire, and it was against the new heavyweight champ George Foreman. George Foreman was a young champion. He was from Houston, Texas. If you only know George Foreman from his portable grills, you don't even know the beginning of the champion fighter that this man was. And in 1974, George Foreman agreed to take on Ali in Zaire, this country in Africa. In the lead up to the fight, George Foreman was focused on himself. He was focused on getting in the getting the training in to take on Ali. Muhammad Ali was out amongst the people. He was getting all of the people of Zaire on his side. There was this chant that all the people in Zaire, they were saying, Ali, Boumaye, Ali, Boumaye, which means Ali, kill him, Ali, kill him.
Oh,
he was getting everyone rallied on his side. George Foreman was very much going in there as a villain to these people in Africa. This is really where we get the term rope-a-dope. So Ali, in his early fights, he was the fastest. He was the strongest. You see his feet move. You see how he's working. Youth was really on his side. Now it's 10 years later. He's in his 30s. And so what Ali does in these fights is called rope-a-dope. So he goes against the ropes, and George Foreman just lays into him round after round, giving him everything that he's got, punishing blows. You can see the physics of these blows work through Ali's body and then work through the ropes themselves. And Ali would just take the punishment. And then at one point, in one of the later rounds, George Foreman laid this huge, humongous blow against Ali. And Ali just whispered in his ear, "Is that all you got? Is that all you got, George?" At that point, George goes, later on in interviews, he goes, "Yeah, that was all I got. That was everything that I was giving." And so after round after round of punishing blows, George Foreman was tired. He was exhausted. And that's when Ali opens up on him and knocks him out. And Ali again became the heavyweight champion of the world. In 1975, this is the Thrilla in Manila. So Joe Frazier, who was the heavyweight champion of the world, wants to take on Ali again to get the title back. Ali trains. He says that he's been. This is one of the great quotes. He goes to the press. He says, "I've done something new for this fight. I done wrestled with an alligator. I done tussled with a whale. Handcuffed lightning, thrown thunder in jail. Only last week I murdered a rock, injured a stone, hospitalized a brick. I'm so mean I make the medicine sick." This was one of the I mean, essentially one of the greatest fights of the 20th century. This fight in Manila, they were two equally matched opponents. It was round after round, and again, Ali taking the punishment, doing rope-a-dope, getting
Mm.
to the ropes, and round after round of Joe Frazier just beating and beating and beating him. Ali would later say that this was the closest he ever felt to dying. Was just taking this punishment, and then after 15 rounds, uh, Frazier decided that he was not going to come back out, and Ali was still the heavyweight champion of the world by technical knockout. Ali continued fighting throughout the 70s, but he's
Mm.
in his late 30s by this time. He lost and won the title
Mm.
back against Leon Spinks, making him the first person ever to win the heavyweight champion of the world 3 separate times. He continued fighting into 1980 and 1981. Uh, People were clamoring for him to retire, that he was getting to 39, 40. These, taking the punishment of young men beating on him was really affecting him physiologically. People were clamoring for him to retire, but he continued stepping into the ring. Uh, there was an absolutely disastrous battle against Larry Holmes, where you just see someone who's approaching 40 being pummeled by a young man. But he continued to get in the ring, but he did lose to Larry Holmes. After 1981, he did finally decide to retire. And he continued his appearances on talk shows and on shows across the world, but really started to focus on his philanthropy work, on humanitarianism, on going around the world, supporting charities, creating these ways to help these people who were downtrodden, try and help them lead better lives. In 1984, Muhammad Ali was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. And he worked very hard, eventually with people like Michael J. Fox and others, to get more research done to help people with Parkinson's lead better lives. In 1996, at the Atlanta Olympics, Muhammad Ali was the one who lit the torch. By this point, he was one of the most beloved figures of
Mm.
American life. If you had told someone in 1967 that in 1996 he would be one of the most beloved figures, they wouldn't believe you because of how controversial his views were looked upon in the 60s. But by 96, he had everyone had come around to his view of things. Um, Truly by 96, and then he still lived another 20 years after that. People recognized that this was a man who stood up for what he believed in. He was the embodiment of everything that we value as Americans. He was an independent thinker. He was a fierce fighter. He truly was the greatest. Muhammad Ali, he died on June 3rd of 2016. And really, his whole life really showed everything that we talked about here. The fierce fighter, hard work, fortunate, but a very good communicator. For someone who was dyslexic and did not receive a good education, he's really also one of the greatest poets of the 20th century, too, with how he expertly did his trash talk in his fights. Muhammad Ali definitely goes down as one of the greatest that ever lived.
Absolutely. I have to say that growing up in the 60s and 70s, and I mean, watching Muhammad Ali and listening to his poetry and just thinking, this is amazing. The way this man puts words together is the most unique thing I've ever heard. And it's so inspirational. And it didn't matter. It wasn't so much about I mean, he could say anything. Like the phrase that you said about a rock and a brick. It just was the power behind what he was saying and the way it went through you,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing what an amazing creature he was. He's just amazing, and should forever be remembered. Hopefully he will be forever be remembered, because um, he was quite a man.
Yes. And set the precedent for actors and sports figures and people today that, just because you want to put them into different boxes and they're human beings and they deserve to have their thoughts expressed just the same as anyone else. And when these people take stands for things that they believe in, whether we agree with it or not, they are very much following the lead that Muhammad Ali uh, uh, took back in the 1960s.
Absolutely. He definitely blazed a trail. And I believe that many different communities, sports communities, humanity, everything, benefited from this man's efforts in all of these areas. And I don't know, I'm assuming, that with that North Node in Virgo, he diligently planned the things that he was doing. They didn't just fly out of his head. He had definite arrangements for the way that he would portray things and have them come out. Clearly he did. I mean, just from what you said about how everything went down in Africa, that was a campaign. That was a full-blown campaign. That doesn't just come out of the top of your head. That's extremely planned. Yeah, amazing. I love it.
On our scale of right on the money to way out in outer space, I think this chart has it all. It really is right on the money. Explains a lot about them.
Yes, it does. That's amazing. That's very interesting science. Very interesting science.
This concludes another episode of History in Retrograde. We'd like to thank you for listening. Thank you for all of the downloads and the support that you've given us. And for those of you just coming along, please like, share, subscribe. And as always, in conclusion, as long as your houses are in order and the stars are aligned, everything will be just fine.
We love you lots. Thank you. Keep listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Salal Creek Studio.